Yo ho peoples, what's up? My name is Jason and I'm from the Shelf Stories YouTube channel. And I'm here in the Dice Tower with a very special episode. It's the end of the year, we're almost at Christmas. We're looking for stuff to buy, stuff to enjoy with our families. And when I think of families, the thing that I think of is cooperative games. You see my shelf, I got cooperative games all over the place. Doesn't take much. Doesn't take much to get me to think about cooperative games. I'm thinking about them all year. I seek them out. I play them. They're my favorite types of games. I know I'm known for a solo, but cooperative games. Give me a good cooperative game, especially a thematic one. But anyone, I am going to try to play it. And what I've done for you guys and gals is I have put together 10 of the best of the year. So this was a difficult year, not like they were runneth over with, different games, especially in the cooperative space. There were a lot of Kickstarters that should have delivered this year. Kickstarters, especially the bigger ones, tend to be the big cooperative ventures or whatever it is. A lot of them did not deliver this year, but I was able to find 10 pretty fun games, 10 games that I'm happy to play anytime. And also, I'm going to run down other happenings that happen in the cooperative space. So please go ahead and join me for this very festive occasion. Top 10 cooperative games and other stuff too. So before I get into 10 brand spanking new games for 2020 in the cooperative space, I'd like to check in on some established properties that have reiterated themselves, that have expanded, that have kept themselves relevant for cooperative game lovers such as myself throughout the year. So the first thing that I want to check out is escape room games. Unlock came out with a new property, a big property in the Star Wars universe. Exit continues to impress with little releases here and there. The latest one was in the fantasy space. My personal favorite brand of escape room game is actually Escape Tales from Board and Dice. It's not the most cohesive. The puzzles tend to be not as kind of like puzzly satisfying in that way as some of the other games, but I definitely appreciate the efforts to integrate story, and the latest one of those was Children of Wormwood. So go ahead, you are not lacking for new escape room fun this year. Also, we have detective games, crime games. This was another genre that just kind of like exploded over the last 1 or 2 years. Detective City of Angels from Van Ryder Games came out with their second big box, which is Smoke and Mirrors. Detective from Portal Games reiterated with a simpler version, Season 1. The basic series of detective games can take a really long time to solve, even just one case. This one is designed to be addressed in 90 minutes, an evening with your family. My personal favorite of these crime-solving games is Chronicles of Crime. Chronicles of Crime came out with the Millennium series this year, which is a pack of 4, which goes in different eras, right? So you have like 1400 and then kind of moving forward. So past and future, and they're introducing new mechanisms, and the app integration continues to be absolutely stellar. I'm not a genius, so detectives sometimes could get a little bit beyond me, but the Chronicles of Crime, that one hits my sweet spot for, just fun of the app and, solvable cases. You can do them all in a night. A huge winner from Lucky Duck. Chronicles of Crime, go check that one out. All right, so we continue on with expansions. This one was recommended to me, so I have not played this. I played Fallout a couple of years ago from Fantasy Flight Games, the board game Fallout, not Fallout Shelter, just the regular Fallout, and I was pretty disappointed. I just wasn't what I wanted in terms of an on the board experience. but I hear from my good friend Colin at the One Stop Co-op Shop that the Atomic Bonds expansion fixes a lot of those issues, especially with the agenda cards, makes them a little bit more stable and fun to achieve, adds a couple of more cooperative elements. So I wanted to highlight this one. I cannot vouch for it. If you buy it and it's not that good for you, then go ahead and blame Colin. But he swears by it, so go ahead and check out Fallout Atomic Bonds. Maybe the biggest property from last year to land was Marvel LCG from Fantasy Flight. The first big box campaign expansion came out this year, Rise of the Red Skull. This one adds a campaign mode. I put campaign in quotes because it's not really a huge story experience. It's just kind of an excuse to keep your deck together and play a couple of games consecutively. However, Marvel continues to be fun and interesting. More decks and just lots and lots of different packs. Independent of the big box expansion. Doctor Strange, Incredible Hulk. You get all sorts of heroes and scenarios. That LCG is still going strong. So definitely want to highlight the big box for you. Marvel Rise of the Red Skull. One of the most innovative properties that came out this year was the West Kingdom Tome Saga. So the West Kingdom Tome Saga kind of wraps up the West Kingdom trilogy. We're talking architects and paladins and viscounts of the West Kingdom. Wraps them all up and allows you to kind of play this story mode. Doing a lot of air quotes today. But the part that I'm interested in is the cooperative. It adds modes to all three of those games. And I've taken a look at Architects. I haven't taken a look at the other two, but the Architects bot is pretty clever. It is a bot. It is an overlord, and it works differently than the solo bot that comes in the base game of Architects. It gives you rules for the players to kind of actually cooperate as opposed to just collaborate and talk. There's mechanical integration, and the bot is pretty challenging. So I love that there's a separate dedicated expansion that's addressing all three of the properties, and in order to get the most out of it, you have to get all three games. Someone might not be the happiest with that. However, I thought that the idea is pretty clever, and I wanted to highlight it here. That is the West Kingdom Tome Saga. So this was going to make a lot of lists this year. It did not make my list because I feel it is more of a reiteration than it is an original property. But it is Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion. This game is about 90% Gloomhaven, but it is that accessible entry point into Gloomhaven that I think the game really needed. In order to really get itself to the next level, get itself accessible and approachable. I wish that storybook had been available in the base game, so I wouldn't have to fish out a billion tiles in order to play my game. So I put it here. I definitely want to give it a shout out and a mention. This is something you definitely should take a look at, but it is a reiteration, so it did not make the main list. That is Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion. Finally, if you know me, I am a huge Pandemic fan, and there was a reimplementation of the Pandemic system that I was really excited for this year, got it to the table, and was very happy with the results. Of course, I am talking about Pandemic Hot Zone North America. It is the family-friendly version of Pandemic that you can play in about a half hour. It's much simpler, less diseases, less cards, smaller footprint, very cheap price. I've gotten it there. Haven't quite been able to give it to my 5-year-old to play, but she's close. She's so close. So Pandemic Hot Zone was definitely a winner with my family. Can't wait to play it with my daughter. Wait a minute. Wasn't I going to talk about another Pandemic reimplementation? Pandemic Legacy Season 0, perhaps? I haven't played it. Ugh. Darn you, COVID. I would have played the thing by now if it wasn't for COVID. I'm hopeful that we can, or that I can, with my group, get together and get that played sooner rather than later. All right, so we are now ready to go into top 10 cooperative games for 2020. Before I get started, I wanted to give thank you to anyone who posted a picture of the whatever game over on BoardGameGeek.com. I use a couple of those still shots in order to be able to show you the games at the table. So go ahead and check them out. Thank you very much for that. My number 10 game is Far Away. This is a 2-player only limited communication cooperative game designed by Alexander Jerebek and published by Cherry Pick Games. This is a game in which you are playing astronauts who have landed on different planets. There's different missions, and what you're going to be doing is, depending on the mission, you are going to always explore, but you're going to build, or you're going to experiment, or you're going to run through a campaign of a couple of different missions with limited communication. So you and your partner, I guess the radios are busted. You and your partner are going to have to figure out how to get through these hostile alien worlds by yourself. Excellent exploration game. Has kind of a role-playing-esque component when you animate the enemy turn. So the enemy turn is a little bit more involved than it would be in other exploration games. So, you know, that might be a little bit of a barrier for some, but I, as a thematic gamer, really dug it. So it's still in my collection. So if my number 10 is still in my collection, then I had a great time with all 10 of these games. So that is Far Away, my number 10. My number 9 cooperative game for 2020 is Kingdom Rush, Rift in Time. This one was designed by Helena Hope, Sen-Fu Lim, and Jesse Wright, published by Lucky Duck Games. It is the implementation of the app Kingdom Rush. It is a tower defense game. This particular version is highly puzzly. Puzzly in the sense of you're going to get the enemies coming in. They come in on these little boards, and you have to kind of polyomino style, you know, cover things and make sure that they don't destroy your town, which is a good tower defense style. It's a very challenging game. You know, cooperative gamers will love the satisfying puzzle here. It's became a little bit difficult for me because I love the app so much, and it's not like the app. The art style is like the app, but the app is more frantic. The app is, you know, there's a lot more movement. The tracks in the board game are not very long. But once you get over that once I had to get over that conceptual hurdle, it's a very solid puzzly game here. That is Kingdom Rush, Rift in Time, my number 9. My number 8 is Fox in the Forest Duet. This was collectively designed by Foxtrot Games and published by them and Renegade Games Studios. Fox in the Forest was a 2-player trick-taking game, innovative for its time. Trick-taking is normally multiplayer, but a 2-player back and forth, a fun little one from a couple of years ago. Duet re-implements the system, but adds that cooperative element for 2 players only, where you're moving a little marker back and forth in a track, and you have to try to pick up all the pieces along that track. So you're kind of like figuring out who will win, who will lose. You know, if you can't win too much because the piece will go off the board. So you have to, you know, if you're leading, then you want to kind of tank a trick so that your partner can win, vice versa, back and forth. It's not a perfect game by any stretch of the imagination, because there's some like wrinkling bits, but I really appreciate that cooperative trick-taking is kind of having a moment. The Crew is an excellent game that came out, a Spirit of Jar winner, I guess last year, that took cooperative trick-taking to a whole new level. This one, not quite as good, but The Crew doesn't play well at 2 players. If you want a 2-player experience, this one is a really solid one, also going to stick around in my collection. Fox in the Forest Duet, my number 8. My number 7 is Marvel United, This one was designed by Andre Charvesio and Eric M. Lang, published by CMON. So this is a cooperative tactics skirmish type game. Plays out very simply. The layout is simple. It's just a couple of cards, and tokens and go. You are going to be playing chibi versions of your favorite heroes versus chibi versions of your favorite villains. Very quick, very punchy. You go back and forth, with the game itself, and it lays out very quickly. You pack it up and do it. You do it again. Quicker than a hiccup, these games. We're talking 10, 15, perhaps 20 minutes. That's actually a bit long. So this was an interesting one because the different communities reacted differently. So if you were a backer, initially you were a little bit sour because the base game was available in retail a little bit before your pledge came in. I know gamers never liked that one too much. And then the retail people who bought it, they enjoyed it. They're like, okay, I'm done with this. Where's the more? And the backers have all that coming, including exclusive content, which CMON is known for. At the end of the day, I think that, people who are going to enjoy this are going to want A, the extra stuff, and B, you're going to enjoy it with your family. You're going to enjoy it with your children. I don't know that this game has a lot of legs in terms of strategy for, adult gamer group, unless you're truly like young at heart, you love this stuff. But a solid package overall for what it offers. The chibi art is a big clue of who this audience is intended for. So that is my number 7, Marvel United. My number 6 cooperative game for 2020 is Paleo. Paleo was designed by Peter Rustmeyer and published by Hans im Glück in Germany and brought to America by Z-Man Games. So this is a pretty interesting game that is set in prehistoric times, the cavemen, so to speak. It is a game in which you are high resource management, trying to construct a cave painting before too much bad stuff happens to your peoples. Well, I liked about this game a couple of things. Number one, the theme, delightful production, and also it is a kind of like family to mid-weight-ish, that pandemic kind of weight game, but it does a lot in its design to mitigate alpha players. So I know a lot of groups are, fretful of cooperative games because they don't love that alphabet quarterbacking experience, one person kind of saying what to do. Probably a problem more in that 2.5 range, the family weight game range. This one, it's a card based system, but you're playing cards face down and you don't really know what you're getting. You have a clue because the back of the card will tell you like kind of what generally will come up, but then you turn over the card and you do whatever it says, gather the resources and interact. I really like that cooperative games in the family weight space are innovating and trying different things, and Paleo does it really well. I want to play this game more. I've only played it on Tabletopia. I haven't gotten the physical copy to the table, so I haven't like beheld the awesome production value, but it's a really fun design. Really appreciated my plays. So that was my number 6, Paleo. My number 5 game is Back to the Future, Back in Time. This one was designed by Prospero Hall and published by Funkoverse. Prospero Hall gave us Horrified either last year or a couple years ago. I really, really loved Horrified. It was one of my favorite family weight cooperative games that have come out recently, and Back to the Future Back in Time kind of gives you more of the same flavor, but with that Back to the Future sense. This game I put ahead of Paleo because I I love the theme on Child of the 80s. I enjoyed the movie, enjoyed the chance to come back into that world with the characters, with Biff as a kind of a bot, a bad guy that gets in your way. You got your DeLorean. So many of the fun movie elements are represented so well here in this, pandemic Horrified style cooperative game. I distinguish this one from, I think it's Dice Through Time, The Back to the Future, another Back to the Future, the game that came out this year. Didn't love that one so much. That one was more of a straight up puzzle random. It was okay, but this one, if I want to visit this world, then this one is going to be where I'm going to go. So that was Back to the Future, Back in Time, my number 5. So my number 4 cooperative game of 2020 is Forgotten Waters. Forgotten Waters was designed by Mr. Bistro, J. Arthur Ellis, and Isaac Vega, published by Plaid Hat. This was the first big release that Plaid Hat gave us after their separation from Asmodee, and they went for it. They went for a big, ambitious game, exploration game, story-based game, fully 3 to 7 players, so accommodates a big player count. The community has come up with solo and 2-player versions because we're not gonna be left behind, people, especially for our story-based experiences. This one not only has a huge story that comes at you from the board and the mechanisms, but also from the app. So this one's a highly app integrated game. Cannot play this game without it. This one's a little bit difficult for people, so it kind of blurs the line between, a story game and a strategy game. Maybe some people feel that this one leans a little bit more towards the story end of things. Do my decisions really matter? Type thing. Is the story going to tell itself whether I play or not? But I felt like there was enough gamer elements there to deliver that story punch. Some unforgettable moments that come out of this game. So I am really digging Forgotten Waters, and that one is my number 4 cooperative game for 2020. So my number 3 game cooperative for 2020 is Endangered. This one is for 1 to 5 player, designed by Joe Hopkins and published by Grand Gamers Guild. This is a game about saving the animals. So a lot of cooperative games give you that kind of short-term, long-term decision, and I felt like Endangered did it best. Where at least this year, over the short term, you got to save the animals, and over the long term, you'll have these ambassador cards that give different requirements that you have to satisfy in order to win the game. So you are torn every single turn. And the emotional weight of losing animals, which is a little silly, but the meeples are really well drawn and well realized. You kind of know exactly what's going on, which it doesn't really abstract that out too much. I mean, it's an abstract game, but I love that the game does a lot to put you in that space, imaginatively. The theme is amazing here, and it's a family weight game, so there's not a lot of huge deep decisions, but there's enough. The dice placement, you can get in each other's way. I really think Endangered is one of my real, outstanding hits. Can't wait for the expansion to land, which is new species, more scenarios, more animals to save. This one's a winner. It's going to stay in my collection forever. I really feel like that. That is Endangered, which is my number 3 cooperative game for 2020. My number 2 cooperative game for 2020, and there's a giant asterisk on this one, and I'll explain that in just a second, but it is Etherfields. Etherfields is a game for 1 to 4 players designed by Michael Oras, the designer of This War of Mine. Give you a sense of what you're in for. Published by Awaken Realms. So this one is a big grand adventure game, huge box, lots of stuff in the box, and then expansions. Basically built for Kickstarter. Awaken Realms makes huge games. Their last one was Tainted Grail. So the asterisk that I'm talking about here is I just got it. I just played the beginning of it, but I'm so tantalized. I am so excited by the exploration, card-based exploration a la 7th Continent or Tainted Grail, and then card-based, power-ups and everything, and the dream world, the disconnected world, but it's an advantage in the dream because weird things happen. So it can kind of open things up and have things make a little bit less sense, and it makes sense in the context of the world. Asterisk being, I just started it, and Tainted Grail is one of those games where, like, you open it, you play it, it's amazing, it's fun, and then you keep playing it, and it's like, oh, what happened here? Is Etherfields the same way? I haven't played it enough. So I'm going to make a promise to you. If I am blessed to be a part of the Dice Tower next year, and I do top 10 cooperative games of 2021, I will give an update on Etherfields and let you know if it stayed at my number 2 ranking for the year, or because some of the expansion content was rough. But for what I've played so far, I'm so excited to keep going. So that is Etherfields, my number 2. And my number 1 cooperative game for 2020. This wasn't even a decision, ladies and gentlemen. When I came up with the idea to do top cooperative games, I wrote this game down, and then I had to come up with the rest. This one is Alter Quest. Alter Quest was designed by the Sadler brothers, Adam and Brady, and published by Blacklist Games. So there's a couple of things to this. First of all, it's a Kickstarter, so it's hard to get. And there's a whole bunch of stuff. You got, buying all of it can be a little bit of a deal. Huge box of stretch goals. Who knows when that'll be available. Not a game for high player count, I feel. A lot of the modular deck system, Blacklist Games, Brook City, Street Masters are kind of solo games scaled upwards. The more you scale up, the more you have downtime and admin and all things you kind of don't want in an exciting dungeon crawl. So those are all the bad things. What? This game is so good. It's my favorite by far of the MDS games because of the element of exploration. Street Masters and Brook City had that interesting card play. And so each character has a fixed deck, and you're going to be playing, and impacting the board and using your combos, playing cards together. That kind of game, if you know Sentinels in a Multiverse, can generate a lot of admin, a lot of kind of mind clutter from turn to turn as you kind of keep track of everything. Those were good. Alter Quest does the same thing on the player side. Some lessons were learned, so I think some things are easy to track. But the exploration points, you are going to go from room to room, and each room has a feature, and the feature is this giant Bang & Mini that you can paint, or just be there. Just a very pretty, well-crafted mini. Bookshelves, garbage piles, fonts of whatever, and each one has a rule, and each one impresses the board in a certain way. There is a global system, these altered dice that kind of function as ambient magic. So your cards are going to react to the state of the altered dice. You'll be able to either do things or not do things depending on what the ambient magic of the dungeon says. So you can manipulate that to make yourself more powerful. The quest system is okay. I think the quests are fun. The individual quests are fun. There's some that are definitely better than others. And there is a campaign mode. The campaign mode doesn't really impress you with its story. It didn't impress me anyway. It was like an excuse to play 6 games in a row, which I was perfectly happy with without having a story. What it did was give me a chance to kind of play with upgraded cards. So my character felt more powerful, could do more. They're the same cards as the base cards, just kind of swapping out. All that stuff I was cool with. Just the fundamental act of discovering those rooms, being in the Hero Quest. If we played Hero Quest back in the day, just having that big old board and stuff to explore and modular. You kind of have to have expansion in order to not get bored with what is uncovered. But Alter Quest is going to be one of those games that sticks around my collection forever. I had a couple of dungeon crawler games here. I was out. Not only am I keeping Alter Quest, it fired other games. That's how good I thought Alter Quest was. For 1 to 2 players. More, you have to have somebody who's good at admin to keep track of everything. But I'm going on and on a little bit. I wanted to give this game the shine. Alter Quest is by a country mile my number one cooperative game for 2020. That was 10 cooperative games. That was more coverage of properties that have kept themselves relevant in the cooperative space throughout the year. I hope that everybody out there has a happy holidays, Merry Christmas, or whatever holiday or celebration you choose to engage in on this most joyous and festive of years. It's been a very difficult year, but we made it through together. And I really hope that 2021 is going to be one of those things where it's like, okay, here is the dark night, and now we are headed towards the light, and more excitement, more fun, and more togetherness here in 2021. So I am thankful for my first year on the Dice Tower. Thank you so much to anybody who has watched the videos, interacted, given me some support. I hope that I'm with Tom and Z and all the guys for a long time to come here on the Dice Tower. I've had a lot of fun. So thank you, everybody. I'm going to remind you that if you can change your mind, you can change the world. So until next year, later, everybody.